Chapter 1: Spillover. It is likely impossible to identify the exact moment that SARS-CoV-2 jumped from its host reservoir in bats into some kind of intermediary animal host, and finally into humans, as WHO suggests. This random and seemingly trivial act in the universe was one of hundreds that occur across the world each day. But in this instance, coronavirus managed not only to infect a human, but to sustain human-to-human transmission. It also managed to sustain this in an easily transmissible way through people breathing close to each other. And even more perniciously, it was able to spread from people who felt completely well. This was just bad luck for us humans. At each step in the chain, from contact through to human transmission, the odds stack ever more greatly against the virus. But once a virus can spread through breathing, it's a recipe for a very difficult pathogen to stop. In this chapter, we take a closer look at the concerns over diseases at the animal-human nexus and why spillover events have been happening more and more often. And we examine the various theories on the origin of SARS-CoV-2 to address whether there was ever an opportunity to stop its introduction into humans. Where did SARS-CoV-2 come from? How was it first detected, and how long was the delay in recognizing there was a new virus spreading? When did scientists realize the world would never be the same, and that SARS-CoV-2 could indeed be the disease X we had all been preparing for? And how much is the Chinese government to blame for the COVID-19 pandemic? At an early stage, could the pandemic have been prevented? Simple questions with important and often not so easy answers. No, it's not witchcraft, it's science. Scientists have repeatedly warned that we would face another pandemic in the future. Almost all agreed that the question was when, not if. I was often asked in 2020 how I was able to predict SARS-CoV-2. This stemmed from a Daily Mail article titled, "Leading UK Professor Warned of Coronavirus-Type Outbreak 2 Years Ago." The article pulled out a video clip from a 2018 Hay Festival talk where I spoke about a fictional scenario of an animal passing on an infection to a farmer in China, and then the farmer infecting those in their community before getting on a plane to the United Kingdom. I chose China as the location for the spillover event to illustrate the point that our health threats are interconnected across the world, and to show that countries must cooperate in order to manage threats to their people. In my fictional scenario for the UK government to worry only about what's happening within its own borders didn't make sense in a globally interconnected world. This vulnerability was clearly revealed in January and February 2020, when the UK government was more concerned with Brexit and internal politics than about an emerging health threat in China, as we will see in Chapter 5. Rich countries like the US and the UK are often reluctant to sit at the same table as small and poor countries like Malawi or Haiti. This is clearly apparent at the World Health Assembly, the main decision-making body within WHO, where all countries, regardless of wealth, population size, or power, are given the same speaking time and the same voting power. This one country, one vote dynamic has frustrated richer countries that have shifted their financial resources into newer multilateral agencies like the Global Fund to fight HIV/AIDS, TB, and malaria, in order to have more control over decision-making and priorities. The United States is the largest funder of the Global Fund, and minutes reveal that the board of the Global Fund has never disagreed with the United States' position on any issue. This contrasts with WHO, which often pressurizes the United States into international agreements that are driven by other countries. For example, after strong opposition, the U.S. finally capitulated and agreed to the resolution adopted at the May 2020 Annual World Health Assembly, that the research and development of COVID-19 products, such as vaccines, therapeutic drugs, and testing technology, would be shared globally.